We're going to have to drink twice as much for this show just to compete with the dogs.
Music from the wrong side of the tracks. This is a show that drags you through the gritty alleys of sleaze rock, gutter glam, and all forms of dirty rock and roll. We're here to crank up the volume and dive deep into the dirtiest, sleaziest, most glamorous rock and roll out there. Whether it's the classics or the underground hits, we've got you covered. And now, here are your hosts, Andy and Gary.
Hello, and welcome to the newest episode of the Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast. I'm your host, Andy, and with me is my co-host, Gary.
Hey there.
And we're happy to have you with us today. And today we're going to have a two-part episode once again. And I'm going to be covering the band Gunfire Dance, while Gary will do the heavy lifting on a band out of Chicago called D'Molls.
Yay.
So Gunfire Dance is a glam punk band that formed in Birmingham, England back in the mid-'80s. And it was formed by two friends, bassist Rockin' Ray Birch and drummer Ozzy. They shared a love for a lot of early punk, bands like the Heartbreakers, the New York Dolls, and the Damned. And they decided they should create their own band. And then around 1988, the band really came together when singer Anthony Bullock and guitarist Jeff Ward entered the picture.
Can we talk about that Gunfire Dance name, Andy?
Of course.
What does that bring to your mind?
Dance, motherfucker, dance. Somebody shooting at your feet, making you dance.
Gunfire Dance. Yosemite Sam, some poor hapless soul in every Western or television movie you've ever seen, getting shot at and forward to the early entertainment value, early entertainment.
I wonder if that ever really happened in the Wild West or if that's just a myth.
Son. I would imagine a lot of shot feet.
Yeah.
There'll be no more dancing, apparently.
Right. So Gunfire Dance wasn't just another New York Dolls, Hanoi Rocks type of ripoff. They had kind of a unique mixture of 1950s rock and roll, 1960s rhythm and blues, and a good dose of punk rock thrown in there.
That sounds like a good mix.
It's the best mix. And the band definitely had the correct look and style and attitude. But, they had a pretty good bit of substance to their songs. They weren't just a bunch of lightweight pop songs. They were like... They had some really good tunes under their belt.
We're tackling substantive issues, Andy. The important stuff, mate.
Gunfire Dance spent their first couple of years gigging pretty relentlessly, and they built up a really good following in both Birmingham and ended up being fixtures on the London scene. They played quite a few shows at London's prestigious Marquee Club, and typically they were playing before a packed house.
Yeah, they were going some places.
And around that time, the band first landed themselves a publishing deal with Island Records, which doesn't seem like it really amounted to much because you didn't really hear anything about it. But the band were trying to land both a management deal and a record deal. But again, nothing seemed to be coming together for him.
Not interested.
So like a lot of bands back in the day, they decided their best move was to create their own record label, which they did and named it Stay Sick Records.
Do you have to read your own recording contract if you're the ones that are at the label? I mean...
Oh, so you can't trust yourself at all, so I would think you absolutely would have to double check.
Should we run this by accounting first? I'm unsure.
Right. And in 1992, they released their self-produced product. It was a 4-song EP titled Killing Time. And this record included the songs Blue, Temptation, Pretty as Sin, and Bird Doggin'.
With or without the apostrophe? I believe it's with the apostrophe.
In this case, it's with.
That makes a difference.
And from the Gunfire Dance EP titled Killing Time, here's a bit of the song Bird Doggin'. And this song features the raw energy and gritty sound that this band would really become known for.
Billy, for Christ's sakes, you must be committed, right? No. Mom. just a young kid. What are you doing here? You got to be out in the convertible. Bird dog.
Back in the day, bands like this decided they were going to release their own music and they were going to start their own record label, all of this kind of thing. There was nowhere near the resources that bands have today. There was no Spotify. There was no Bandcamp. There was no Discogs.
No Pro Tools.
No, definitely no Pro Tools. You had to throw down real money to go into a studio, whether it be a good studio or a shitty studio. That depended on your budget.
What can we afford, mates?
Right. And a lot of times with these bands, very low budget to work with. So
primitive.
Yeah. So the quality would come out a lot of times like a demo track more than an actual polished product.
Why do you think they call them demos, Andy?
Exactly. But so let's say you do this. You throw down some money, you go in, you record. You know, you don't have enough money to pay for proper mixing, so you just take the product that you get.
We're not going to be able to fix it in the mix, lads.
Not this time.
Time is money.
Exactly. And you're out.
Come on now.
So what do? You go to all this trouble to record. You create this product you're hopefully proud of.
Self-financed.
But what do you do with it? How do you get it out there to the people? How do you try to recoup some of your money from this?
Well, you sell it out of the trunk of your car. You put that suitcase at the front of the stage. You offer to help with crippled children.
The list is endless. But yeah, you're hoping to sell it to your fans at the show. You're hoping you can get it into like maybe an independent record store, because a commercial record store is not going to touch, anything from a small label like that. And you just have to hope for the best. And you have to promote it as much as you can.
Word of mouth.
Exactly. So you got to get it out there.
Did your back in the day, was it cassette tapes?
Yes.
Here's my cassette tape, which I still have, by the way. What does this have to do with Gunfire Dance, Andy?
Just back in the day, you really had to work hard to get your product out there. There were no shortcuts, no easy ways to do it. You had no social media to rely on. So it was purely basically word of mouth, and you just getting the product in people's hands and hoping they liked it. And a lot of times they probably fucking didn't like it at all.
Here's a conundrum for me. They have the balls to call it EP, which stands for extended play, but you're only putting 4 songs on it. Here's our 4-song extended play, lads. Hope you enjoy it.
If it was 5 songs, it would have been an actual album.
It's right out. 5, sir. It's right out.
So Gunfire Dance ends up recording 5 more tracks, but this time they're working with both Brian James and Rat Scabies, the guitarist and drummer of the band The Damned. They were handling the production duties for him. But unfortunately, out of this session, only 2 songs were ultimately released as a single, so it didn't even consist of enough to be an EP this time.
We're keeping it short and simple.
It's cheaper this way, boys. And this single consisted of the original song, Suit and Tie, and also a cover version of the Kinks song, Till the End of the Day.
So wait, you're telling me out of the 2 songs they've pared down, they're only going to put one original and do a cover on the other song?
Right, so maybe they didn't believe in their other 3 songs.
Shrewd, very shrewd, lads, very shrewd.
And so this single would be released on Jeff Dahl's record label, Ultra Under, which was a kind of a sub-label linked to Triple X Records.
Jeff Dahl, legend.
Yes, he comes up quite a bit with these bands that we talk about here. From that 1994 single, here's Gunfire Dance's take on that classic Kink song, Till the End of the Day.
Dun, 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 dun.
Baby, I feel good. From the moment I rise, I feel good from morning to the end of the day. To the end of the day. Well, you and me, we live this life. From when we get up till we go sleep at night. You and me, we're free. Leave the West with me. From morning to the end of the day. To the end of the day. Yeah, I get up. I see the sun now. I feel good again. My life's gone. You're gone. You and me, we're free. Leave the West with me. Yeah, from morning to the end of the day. 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 We're up to time now.
In 1995, saw the band take their first trip to New York City. And New York City was kind of experiencing a bit of a musical revival with the punk and roll type of music really making a big comeback. And it was, a lot of bands such as, D-Generation, The Throbs, even former Heartbreaker guitarist Walter Lure's band, The Waldos. They were playing in that scene as well.
Where's Waldo?
He's at CBGB's.
Wow.
And this newly energized scene really offered plenty of gigging opportunities for Gunfire Dance to get up there and strut their stuff. They even played some gigs at the world-renowned dive bar, CBGB's, which was, a must for any band trying to establish any sort of street cred back then.
Street cred in the form of a dive bar.
Right.
If you could get into that dive bar, your street cred was assured.
Right, because if you took a piss in that bathroom, maybe that was street crud, not street cred that would come from that.
At your own risk, lad.
Yeah. And you can find a lot of videos on YouTube of Gunfire Dance performing at CBGB's and some of the other landmark bars there in New York City. And if you want to see a sleazy, trashy rock band just ripping it up in their full glory, definitely recommend you go out and look for those videos. Very easy to find, very worth the effort. So after their first successful trip to New York City, the band decided, hey, let's go back to New York City. What could possibly go wrong? Well, apparently quite a bit. And the band started to come apart at the seams. I think it's pretty safe to assume at this point chemicals, alcohol, drugs were probably playing a big part in this. And it was just, the pathway to burnout for yet another band.
I don't know. We called it chemical imbalance. It definitely would fuck with your balance. Too many chemicals.
Just a little bit.
There you go. Sorry to hear, boys.
Tripping could mean multiple things in that case.
Well, nodding on a Sunday afternoon.
And once the band returned back to England, the band ended up playing what would be their final show at least this time frame of the band. And they opened up for those other gutter kings, the Dogs d'Amour.
Not a bad way to go out, I guess.
No.
Opening for the Dogs.
No, that's a pretty big feather in your cap there.
Talk about chemically imbalanced.
Yeah. We're going to have to drink twice as much for this show just to compete with the Dogs.
No one can take Tyler's place.
In 2007, Evil Boy Records released a compilation album titled Archway of Thorns, which contains 19 tracks previously recorded by Gunfire Dance along their career. And I guess you'd call it a bit of a career retrospective. But from that album, Archway of Thorns, here's a bit of the song Gimme Back My Heart from Gunfire Dance.
Archway of Thorns, isn't that death metal from Sweden?
Right. Definitely sounds like it should be. After the band broke up, Jeff Ward moved to New York City, where he became a writer, but he also created the band The Electra Jets. While Rockin' Ray and Ozzy did go on to form another band with singer Anthony, and this time the band was called Steppin' Razors. And this band was a little more along the lines of a punk rock, garage rock, Iggy and the Stooges type of vibe. Unfortunately, Ant's struggles with alcohol, depression, drugs had kind of made this a short-term project. But after this, Rockin' Ray and Ozzy, they became the rhythm section for the Brian James Gang, featuring, once again, Brian James from The Damned and Lords of the New Church.
There's a pedigree.
And Ray and Ozzy, right now, they're half of the band, the Headhunters, and they're actively performing and releasing new music. And you can find them on Facebook and the like. And definitely, if you like this type of music, then seek them out. They're definitely right on target for this. And after a while, Anthony actually got himself clean, and he took a job as a mental health counselor at the hospital where he actually received treatment. So I guess kind of giving a little bit back there. And he had his stuff together enough that Gunfire Dance reformed and played a couple of really successful reunion shows in 2005. But unfortunately, after years of battling depression and addiction, on July 2nd, 2006, Anthony would commit suicide.
Gone too soon.
Yeah, and that would pretty much put a nail in anything for the band at that point. But as a final shot across the bow, Gunfire Dance released a proper full-length album. They're really their only full-length album. And this was in September 2022. The album's titled Witness to the Crime. And it is a fantastic example of a dirty rock and roll band just firing on all cylinders. And Gary, this is one of those bands that we've talked about before where there's a bit of mythology around them, where everyone's like, oh my God, back in the day, you should have seen them. They were the best. Nobody could touch them. And it was a shame nothing happened. Why didn't they get signed? And a lot of times you listen to the band and you're like, okay, I understand why nobody knows about them, because it didn't live up to the hype. And in this case, is that the case with Gunfire Dance? No. This is actually a really good album, and I feel like the band lives up to the hype. And this final album shows a band just great promise, but life just got in the way, and fate had other plans.
When you originally suggested this as a possible segment for the podcast, I had to admit that I knew nothing about them. They somehow slipped between the cracks of my musical radar, so to speak. But once you turned me on to them and I began to dig into it a little bit, there's nothing about them that I didn't like. I like their look, a little bit derivative, but everybody had that kind of a look. And if that was your thing, then you didn't mind if there was a little bit of, nepotism or copying going on, but the songs hold up, the look holds up, the attitude, everything about the band is exactly what this podcast is all about, epitomizing trash rock and all of its glory, So even though they were short-lived, you can still find this current album on your favorite streaming platform, whatever that may be. So if you have a mind, search them out. I'm glad, Andy, that you turned me on to them, and I like them a lot.
All right, great. Glad to hear that you liked them. And to close out this segment on Gunfire Dance, I think it's pretty fitting to play the song Blue. This song ended up on 3 of their recordings, so
They must like this song.
Yeah, they must have really liked this song a lot.
Signature tune.
Right, and I know I really like it. And I felt like the song just got better with each release that it was included in. And it really highlights the style and attitude and swagger that this band brought to the table. So here from the album Witness to the Crime is Gunfire Dance performing the song Blue.
Let's hear it.
And going into part 2, Gary's going to do all the heavy lifting with the Chicago band, D'Molls.
Hey, in the second half of the show, we're going to tackle the band D'Molls, D''Molls. They're an underrated glam band that broke the rules of radio-friendly pop rock and made an all-too-brief splash in the sleaze rock scene. As the story goes, as we find most of our valuable information on the intranet, here's some things that I found out. Billy McCarthy was a drummer from Chicago who played in local bands Kid Rocker and the Screaming Mimes, and whose guitarist in both bands was none other than C.C. DeVille, who would eventually wind up in Poison. Well, Billy, after trying his luck in Los Angeles for 5 years, McCarthy came back to Chicago in 1984, and he changed his name to Billy Dior, D-I-O-R, and along with Desi Rex on lead vocals and guitar, and Lizzie Valentine on bass, piano, and backing vocals, they formed a hard-rocking, glam-influenced band called the Chicago Molls, M-O-L-L-S. Do you know what a mall is, Andy?
Wasn't it like a mobster's girlfriend or something, like his side piece?
I believe you're accurate. I believe it was, can you use the word derogatory term? Hey, she was a dame. Yeah. She was a broad.
She was a broad.
Yeah. Check out that mall, you know. I don't know. It's from the gangster flapper era, whatever.
Boy, I oughta...
Well, anyways, they formed the band the Chicago Molls, and after a year of rehearsals and honing their live set at the Limelight Club, the band, you know, they originally mimicked and paid homage by styling themselves in their finest New York Dolls attire, even sporting lingerie, but the band later toned down this approach, and after Billy Dior's previous experience with Los Angeles, he convinced the band that maybe L.A. would be the best place to land a recording contract. Unfortunately, guitarist S. Scott Priest, he was still under contract with his other band, Diamond Rex, with 2 X's, so he couldn't follow the band there and instead was replaced by Sean Freehill. And the legend goes that 2 weeks after landing in Hollywood, while they were recording demos at a studio and they took a break to have a few drinks at a nearby bar, they were chatting up a couple of girls who, it turns out, were friends with an A&R person at a label, so the band brought the girls back to the studio with them, and when the A&R person came looking for the girls, the band played their demos for him. He initially passed on the band, but he agreed to try to get them a recording contract, and 8 months later, the band, having changed their name to D'Molls, D''Molls, the apostrophe. It reminds me of those douchey umlauts that Motley Crue used on. You remember those, Andy?
Right, yep.
We all thought they were very cool at first, but it turned out, you know, douchey moved.
Yeah, from low and brow.
Well, they named themselves this way allegedly in tribute to the Chicago power pop band The Thumbs, D'' and spell thumbs with a BS. But, you know, they signed a major recording contract with Atlantic Records roughly around that time, and guitarist S.S. Priest, with him rejoining the band, they began working on their self-titled debut album, D'Molls, in 1987. I guess after making a video to promote the song titled 777, and even though it got substantial airplay on MTV and was listed as the #2 import in England of all places, the album failed to chart in the United States. Here's the first song that we've selected for you to show you what D'Molls is about. This song is called Supersonic. It's off their debut album, simply titled D'Molls, and here we go.
Well,
has been widely discussed that the record has been panned by critics for its weak studio production that failed to properly capture the band's heavy driving, big-bottomed, raw attack and live sound. But despite the album's piss-poor production, PPP, see what I did there? Piss-poor production? The band still toured the continental United States with the band Warrant as their opening act. Obviously, that didn't last very long as Warrant quickly blew up and became MTV darlings, but for a time period, the band Warrant was the opening act for D'Molls. Right now, we'd like to play another song from D'Molls. This song is called "Da Stroll" from D'Molls. Here we go.
Backstage at the ballroom grand, Uncle Jack in her hand. Bobby can't believe the stars in her eyes. No, it looks like time done took its toll. She lays them up and she doing a stroll. Lord, it's rough when you cut them down to size. She never ever had been kissed. No holiday inns or holiday outs for her.
While they were on tour in New York City, Atlantic Records chairman and founder Ahmet Ertegun, say that 3 times quickly.
Yeah, there's an easy name.
Ahmet Ertegun. Well, he caught their live show and was greatly moved, apparently, by the band's performance. He insisted that the band stop touring immediately and get back into the studio to make a, quote, real record. Apparently, when the owner of your label, who holds your recording contract in the palm of his hand, you listen.
Yeah, it's not a request, it's a demand.
Yeah, well, at this time, we're going to play a couple of minutes off the song called All I Want from their debut album, D'Molls. And here it is, All I Want.
With me pushing through. Get it down and do it dirty.
Tensions and disagreements within the group over the choice of who to produce the follow-up album, well, they began to surface, and that didn't get better over their choice in personal management with Pete Angelus and Pat Whitley, who were also David Lee Roth's manager. Apparently, that relationship soured quickly, and allegedly, the group fired them due to their so-called failure to grasp the vision and the concept of what D'Molls were out. Angelus later went on to manage the Black Crowes, so I guess he turned out all right.
Yeah, maybe he knew what he was doing after all.
After that, well, D'Molls' second album, titled Warped, was released in 1990, and this was supposed to be the record that finally captured the raw energy that the band's live, sold-out shows were based on. And the good folks at Atlantic, apparently they were on board. They committed to making D'Molls a top priority, giving the band an unlimited marketing budget and tour support. That's unheard of in these days, Andy.
Yeah, that's highly unusual in any time.
Back in the days, an unlimited marketing budget and tour support. Well, things are going excellent, nowhere to go but up, when inexplicably, without any prior warning, lead singer Desi Rex, he jumps ship and quits the band.
I'm out of here.
Why does he quit the band? Well, he's going to play rhythm guitar for David Lee Roth's touring band, and he's going out to promote an album that he didn't even play on. Well, from that album Warped, which we'll talk about more after this song, we'd like to give you the song Centerfold Girl, which is a great tune. Give it a listen.
Open up, baby, feel the groove, then you gotta move along.
Of course, when Atlantic Records found out that Desi Rex had jumped ship, they were rightfully pissed and said, fuck this. They pulled the budget, they pulled the tour support, and released Warped to only a few markets in the United States. Of course, the band broke up shortly after Rex's departure, and that was their final record on the Atlantic label.
Yeah, so he pulled the plug on the whole band just by jumping ship, no warning.
Nowhere. Can you imagine doing that? You know,
Nice guy.
high and dry. But, you know, in a humorous, bizarre twist of fate, after months of rehearsals with David Lee Roth, Desi Rex was fired just days into the tour. So, whoop, 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 whoop.
So was he, I don't understand how Steve Vai needed a second guitar player, since Steve Vai is like having 5 guitar players.
Well, yeah, this is all hearsay and legend, you know, now. So, you know, when D'Molls split up, guitarist S.S. Priest, he went back to his former band, Diamond Rex. But Billy Dior, he started writing novels under his birth name, Billy McCarthy. And his debut novel, titled The Devil of Shakespeare, was inspired in part by his experiences with the band and the 1980s Los Angeles glam rock scene. And this was a bestseller in the summer of 2004. And in 2017, McCarthy published his second book titled Beat Me Until I'm Famous, an autobiographical memoir of his experience as a professional musician in the 1980s, most of which covers the entire D'Molls story. And he is also executive producer of Ferocious Drummers, a feature documentary on legendary drummers that's due out next year in 2025. So he's been very busy.
Yeah, definitely.
Lizzie Valentine, while moonlighting as a producer and a songwriter, well, he went on to earn a bachelor's degree in communication and film from UCLA, followed by a law degree from Loyola Marymount Law School. Desi Rex, well, he returned to Chicago, and eventually he reconnected with guitarist S.S. Priest in 2007, and they've kept D'Molls alive as recently as 2017 with various rhythm sections. They tour as D'Molls 777, named that way to avoid legalities with Roth's management, who apparently owns the rights to the band name D'Molls.
How does that happen, that your band name is owned by your manager when the band was formed before the manager was there?
You know, that kind of reminds me of like Tyla's Dogs D'Amour versus Dogs D'Amour. Or, God forbid, Jeff Tate's Queensryche versus regular Queensryche. Well, anyways, in 2011, Rex married and converted to Mormonism, which led him to relocate from Chicago to Salt Lake City, where he now lives with his wife and 3 children and works in real estate. I guess as far as their discography goes, way back in 1996, the label Delinquent Records put out the group's third and final album titled Beyond the Valley of D'Molls. See what they did there?
Clever.
Yeah. This apparently featured 3 live tracks as well as previously unreleased studio recordings, and there also exists a best of compilation CD titled The Best of Everything, which came out in 2007. In retrospect, in 2011, Desi Rex released Desi Rex's D'Molls D-Sides on the label FNA Records. And I don't know, it's been rumored that used vinyl copies of D'Molls' long out-of-print debut album allegedly fetch at least $40 or more online, so I don't know. In a bizarre trivia fact to close out this episode, in 2015, Billy Dior sued the band Poison for copyright infringement on several Poison hit songs, including Talk Dirty to Me, for which the band failed to credit him as a co-writer. Remember that Dior had played with Poison guitarist CeCe DeVille when both members of Kid Rocker and Screaming Mimi's back in the day, so I guess Poison ultimately settled with Dior out of court for an undisclosed sum, Andy. Undisclosed.
So why did it take so long to sue? I mean, when was 2015 when he sued him, and the album, that Poison album, would have come out in what, 85-ish?
Yeah, but how many albums did that Poison album sell?
It was massive.
I have 2 words for you, Andy. Ka-ching.
Yeah, definitely.
Ka-ching.
He can retire now.
So there's a little bit of D'Molls for you, a band that made a brief splash on the scene back in the day. Some of their stuff is catchy, you know. The production again, maybe not the best on their debut album, but there's still worthwhile songs on there. And if you like this kind of crossbreeding between sleaze and last era glam or whatever, it kind of fits the bill. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, enjoyed the songs that we've selected for you, and we will see you again for our next episode coming up soon. And Andy, any final words for the people out there?
Keep it trashy.
Keep it trashy. You can find us on all your various platforms out there, so give us a listen, and thank you if you've hung in this long. Keep it trashy.
Thanks, everybody. And to our fallen comrade, Mr. Mink, I think Pink Floyd said it best. Wish you were here. You're here in spirit, brother.
Godspeed, Mink, wherever you may be.
You've been listening to the Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the dirty world of rock and roll. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us reach more listeners like you.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast for all the latest updates, news, and more.
Got questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes? Reach out to us at rnrguttermail@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
So join us again next time for another wild ride through the raw and gritty side of rock and roll. So until then, keep it trashy.